You're listening to the Journey Podcast. How might unraveling the mysteries of our subconscious mind lead to greater mental clarity, emotional balance, and physical vitality? Discover more in today's episode. This episode contains strong language and listener discretion is advised. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Journey Podcast. Welcome to today's episode. In this episode, we delve into the fascinating realm of the subconscious mind and its profound influence on our health, healing, and overall well-being. We explore the intricate connections between our subconscious beliefs, thoughts, and emotions, and their impact on our physical and mental health. Laura Ordile is a mindset mentor and master hypnotist, as well as a professional intuitive and astrologer, and is also certified in NLP and more. She uses that unique combination of skills to help her clients tap into the success of big changes they want to open up in their lives quickly, easily, and completely. And her clients get to hold onto their sanity and soul as they go. She knows that when you change your mind, you'll change your life. And Laura does that with a mix of the practical and the woo in a way that is designed specifically for you. She lives in Montana with her family, where she enjoys the sadly short but amazingly beautiful summers and watches as much Star Trek as possible to make it through the winters. Here is my interview with Laura Ordile. Hi, Laura. It's so great to have you on the podcast today. I've been looking forward to getting to chat with you because exploring the subconscious is such an intriguing topic for our conversation today. And like you mentioned, a really big topic too. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. I so appreciate it, Petra.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to have you here today. And do you want to share a little bit about yourself and what you do and kind of how you came to do what you do today?
I call myself a mindset mentor, and I do that because I went through a lot of struggles with my own mindset, with finding my way into where I wanted to be, and that I just wanted to feel okay and even good, no matter what was going on around me. I wanted to feel that centered happiness that allows you to be okay in any situation. And it took a lot of years for me to do that. And now I do it for people in a really quick, easy, complete way. And I brought all of the things together that I've learned over the years in order to do that. So that's where the mentor part comes from. Mentor is someone that's kind of been through what you're going through and can help you along in the process. And I do that by using hypnosis mostly and going in at that really deep level to work with that version of you that basically controls your life. Our subconscious controls our life and runs it for us. Thankfully, we don't have to think about breathing. We don't have to think about, doing the things that we do. However, what we don't know is that a lot of the things that are happening in our life are on that same autopilot. It's going along in the way that it knows how to go. So that's what I do. I go in and I help change the direction to help you get where you want to be.
I love hypnosis, and thank you for sharing that because I find it such a wonderful tool. And now, as you said, of course, if we're going to be talking about hypnosis, we need to talk about the subconscious. And so for listeners out there who may not have heard of hypnosis before or who aren't familiar with working with the subconscious, how does the subconscious work and why is it such an important part of who we are and how we function?
Our subconscious is like the hard drive in our brain. And what happens is sometime, a little time before we're born, up to about 7 years old, the code is kind of input, that foundational version of how we're going to live our life, the beliefs that we're going to have, that we're going to kind of live in. And so that's put into place for us. And then, of course, we live our life and we have all this other information that gets gathered, but we're operating, that's our base operating system. And so that's what we're going to function from. And it can sometimes be difficult to function from that maybe 5-year-old version of what's going on. And that's not to say that we haven't learned anything, we don't add things and all that, but it's going to operate to keep you safe. That's its main goal. Keep you safe and with luck, happy, but mostly safe and alive. And so what happens is when you come in and you try to make the changes that you want to make in your life, what happens is it goes in and it looks at that base coding and says, is it in line with that? Does it work? Or is it in conflict? And even if it's not sure, if it's like, that would be change. Change is unsure. We're not sure what that would lead to. No, we're going to keep you safe. We're not going to allow that change. And what happens is that can come in ways, so many unexpected ways. That can come in physical ways, in emotional ways, in mental ways. That might mean that you have all of these fears and thoughts that come up about making the change. If you tried to make the change, I'm not good enough. I can't do that. What if, what if, what if? Or what can happen as well is you have a physical thing that comes on. You have IBS, you have chronic fatigue, you have something that almost really debilitates you and keeps you in the place where you are. And that's because your subconscious says, you're safe here, you're alive. Even if you're uncomfortable, even if you're hurting, all of those things, you're alive. So I'm doing my job. And there's a little bit more kind of involved in some of that too, that oftentimes what happens in our subconscious as well is when we go through life, from the time we're tiny, we have experiences, unfortunately, that can anchor in a not so good way. I'll call it trauma. But when you're 2 years old, trauma might be a bad argument with your parents. Your parents are yelling and something happens, and somehow that ignites as trauma inside you. And what happens at that point is your subconscious, being the amazing thing that it is and keeping you safe and wants you to move forward, it creates this little protective version of you to come out and say, I've got you. I've got you. You're going to be okay. And so it kind of creates that little version so that you can move forward. However, that little version gets stuck back in that difficult time, reliving that somewhere back in one of those little files that is in a file that's in a file that's in a file in your mind. There's that little version of you. Then you move along to 10 years old, 12 years old. You get bullied. You get hurt. Another trauma is developed, another version of yourself. So have you ever seen those little dolls, the one in after the other? That's what kind of happens to us. We have these little tiny versions of ourselves inside of us. And then something somewhere along the line happens. And one of those little versions of us says, you know what? You're not going any further until you deal with me. I'm hurting. I need to be cleared, reintegrated, whatever. I need attention. And if you've ever had a puppy, you know that the puppy comes up, wants attention, wants attention. If you don't give it attention, it runs off, it pees on your rug, it chews up your shoes, it does bad things. If you give it attention and you work with it and you're there, you have this lovely, loyal friend for the rest of your life. That's what happens with those little versions of us. They come in, and because, again, the subconscious controls everything inside of you, and you have that little version in your subconscious, it can control things that you don't think it can control. It can give you those migraines. It can give you the anxiety. Those physical things that are showing up might be related to that little something back in your subconscious that needs attention, needs to be reintegrated, needs to be communicated with in some way. And that's what I do. I go in and I help you do that at a very deep level. The hypnosis takes you into a place because your subconscious knows everything. I don't have to know what happened. I don't need to know the trauma. Maybe you're very aware of a trauma that you need to work through. I don't need to know the details. You know. And through that, you can go in and open the door and clear the way into an amazing new version of you in this life that lets you experience and expand and move into the next level of happiness and success that you want. That's the magic of what I do.
Wow. I love how you explain that. And I am picturing the puppy and the little Russian dolls. So, yeah, that is amazing. Now, it kind of reminds me a little bit because we are at the beginning of the year when people make a lot of New Year's resolutions, and I think probably a majority of them just never come to fruition. Is that also because the subconscious just isn't buying into what you're trying to do for the changes? And if so, how do we get the subconscious to buy into what we want to change? It seems that sometimes it can be a little bit stubborn and it doesn't quite believe that what you're saying is what you want to be doing. So how do we get the subconscious to buy into what we want to change?
Well, again, if you think of it as like that car driver, or even let's say the bus driver, the bus driver of our life, and you're going along and you're like, oh, I want to go here. Let's take a left here. The bus driver's like, no, I have my route. This is where I'm going to go. This is what I have to do. We need to change the GPS directions. We need to go in and program something new into where we want to go so that then it's working with us. So basically, we're going back to those very foundational beliefs, those very foundational instructions, and we're saying, let's clear that out. Let's remove that. Let's take that out. The wonderful thing is, it's not just about taking things out. We can add things in with hypnosis. We can add things in like confidence, flexibility, motivation, feeling worthy. All of those things can be amplified through this process. And so we work together with the subconscious and we go in and say, hey, we need to really make these changes. Now, let's do this in a way that's going to be healthy and well and good for this person. And so, the subconscious is connected basically to the universe. So it can go find ideas and ways and everything that's going to work perfectly for you. So we do that. And oftentimes, simply by going back and kind of reintegrating some of those hurt versions of ourselves and clearing all of that crap, basically, it just flows and opens, and it's like it releases that hold, that grip on keeping us where we are. And so we do that through hypnosis. And I'm the guide. You do the work. Your subconscious is doing the work. And so it goes in and it clears out those little lines of code that are no longer useful and puts in and reestablishes the things that are going to help you move forward, make the changes that you want, no longer experience being stuck, doing all the things and getting nowhere. And that's what happens basically in terms of resolutions and even an earnest, really willingness to change. I don't know if you've ever had it happen, but in my past, I've wanted to make a change and I start and I go forward and something interrupts me, something stops me. And I try to go forward and I get stopped again. And then I go forward and it's like it works for a little bit, but then it kind of doesn't, so it falls apart again. And that's our subconscious going, no, I'm still working on this base foundation belief. So you think, there's this, let's say that one of those beliefs is that if you make more money, it's going to be more of a problem. Think of all the headaches. Maybe that was something that got, put into your little life somewhere along the line when you were tiny, that people always fight about money. It's difficult. It's a problem. If you have that belief in your mind, you're not going to get very far where you want to go financially, because I'll tell you what, it can be done, but it's a long, arduous, difficult, constant struggle. When instead, if we go in and we take care of it in the beginning at that subconscious level with hypnosis, it's not the long, arduous, difficult struggle, because we change that at that base level. We go, we're no longer thinking that. Let's clear that away. We're thinking this now. Let's bring this in. Let's bring the possibility of new things. And it's like, oh my goodness, that feels good. And then you whoosh forward into those things. It's really incredible to see the people make the changes. I had a client not too long ago who was struggling with PTSD and all the many things that kind of come under that. She had really 17 intense, difficult symptoms that were going on for her. And in 6 weeks of hypnosis, we cleared 17 symptoms so that her life could go forward in a way that she wasn't even aware was possible at that point. And that's what hypnosis does, is it goes in and it can clear that many things at one time. It doesn't have to go in and do one at a time. Your subconscious is all powerful. It's doing everything, operating everything in your body all at once, in your mind all at once. So why not think that it can be that powerful?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of hypnosis. So I do hear what you're saying, and it usually works fairly quickly and effectively as well, which is one thing I love about it. Now, the one thing I'm wondering is kind of as you're talking about hypnosis and also your client's experience, how do people know that there's something going on in their subconscious that's holding them back? Because a lot of the things that we experience might not be so obvious to us that we go, oh, we have a programming in there that we need to change. So, how can your clients tell? So, if they're thinking of working with you, but how can they tell that there is something stuck in there that they could work on with hypnosis?
Most people, unfortunately, don't know in that moment. And they just think if they keep trying, if they keep pushing forward, I'm often the last person that people will come to and try. I'm the last ditch effort. I wish I was the first one because everything would go so much easier. But if you're struggling with something, or if you have something in your life and you're not able to make progress, you're not able to move forward, it's not clearing, you still have the headaches constantly, you still have the insomnia, you are trying to up level your business and you're doing all the things, but it's not working and you can't figure it out. That right there, my friend, is most likely subconscious issue. There's a conflict going on. And when that conflict is going on, you're not going to make progress. If you do, it's going to be tiny eeks that are moving forward. And so if you're in that spot, if you're in even a thought of, what if this is something in there that I'm not sure about? Come have a conversation. If it's not with me, someone that you're connecting with that does do that. Because most people, I hope, and if they don't, find someone else. Most people will have a free conversation with you to say, what's going on? And what do you think is going on? And then they can either say, I really think I can help with that. And here's why. Or they can say, that's probably something else. That might be that you need to go learn how to do this, or, you need to learn how to do that. Hopefully they're going to be honest and right and good with you. Or they'll say, I'm not sure, but I'd be happy to work with you for a little bit. Let's see what happens. And that's up to you at that point, obviously, if you want to explore that option or not. I'm usually pretty straightforward about, I really think I can help, or that's probably not my wheelhouse and we need to do something else. But I'll explain why I don't think I can help, or I don't think that there's a way forward. But I'll tell you what, I have seen crazy, amazing things happen with hypnosis that there's not much that it's not going to help with in some way. And even if it's just to help you clear out the things that are there that you are no longer needing, and to move forward in this more expansive way, to increase the motivation, to increase the confidence, to maybe clear that fear of being visible or public speaking or whatever it is that is if I could just get past that one little thing, I really think I could do more. And it's likely that I can help you get past that one thing.
Yeah.
To specifically answer a little bit, I know I ramble sometimes, but if you are hearing even a little bit of yourself go, there's something more here, or I'm doing it and I can't get there, or I try and then I fail. If you're hearing any of that from yourself, I'm going to say it's likely a subconscious thing that just needs a little help clearing.
Yeah. So the listeners can have a honest chat with themselves in the mirror and kind of go through and see if there's anything that sticks out that fits what you just said.
Yeah, I think people get so stuck on, I can do it. If I just try a little harder, if I put a little more willpower in it, if I do this, I can make it happen. You might be able to somewhere along the line, maybe, but it's going to be difficult. It's going to be harder than it needs to be. And so, why not open the door and clear away? It's like trying to chip through a concrete wall when there's actually a door that you can open and just walk through. Up to you.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's a really powerful image. So you use hypnosis, and I know quite a few people who are actually very afraid of hypnosis because they don't quite know what happens to them or what they should be expecting or whether it's mind control or some kind of woo. So do you want to give listeners a bit of an idea of what it feels like to be under hypnosis, what it feels like to work in a session with hypnosis, and what kind of things they can expect when they are sort of in that relaxed state when you're doing the hypnosis with them?
It's always interesting. Yeah, I hear the mind control thing all the time. I don't want anybody controlling my mind. First of all, I can't make you do anything you don't want to do, and that's oftentimes why if you see the stage hypnosis, you'll see that they only pick certain people because they're willing, they're wanting to be up there and play and have fun and collect the chicken or do whatever. They're willing. There's people that don't go up on that stage because they're not willing. So right there, that shows you have to be willing to do the things that I'm going to ask you to do, that I'm going to have the conversation with in your mind. And so right there, I can't control you. I can't control your mind. I need to control myself. So that's enough work for me. And it's an experience you really can't do wrong unless you're constantly fighting against it in some way. But if you come and you relax and you go, okay, I don't know what to expect. I don't know what's going on. Oftentimes in the first experience, you're going to be all over the place. You're going to be afraid to scratch. You need to itch. You need to move your hair. You've got all these thoughts going on in your mind. Oh my gosh, am I doing it right? Do I need to follow along? Oh, I think I just drifted out. All of those things happen. And that's okay. Oftentimes I kind of do that first little episode to kind of just show someone what it's like. You just have to relax, whatever that means to you. If that means drifting off into la la land, do it. That's fine. If that means coming up and down, kind of being aware, kind of not, your mind wanders a little bit, comes back, that's okay too. Really, honestly, you can't do it wrong in my book. And so however you experience it is right and good. If it's a difficult thing, then you talk with your person that you're doing it with. I often talk to people after we do a session or the next time I see them. How did that go for you? Was there anything that we need to adjust? Was there any part that was difficult for you? So that I, as the guide, can adjust it to you and allow it to be a little more difficult. I have some people that if I'm doing a certain part of something or using certain words, they're like, that one really kind of was difficult for me, or that part was, I didn't like these words, or, everybody has words that trigger them. So that's okay. I just go in and do something a little different, or I modify it so that the next time it is easier for you. It is more conducive to what we're going to do. And I don't worry about it. I don't worry about it. You can fall asleep. I have people snoring sometimes, and I'm okay with that. To me, your subconscious is still aware of what I'm talking about. Your conscious doesn't need to be there. And so as I speak with the subconscious, it's still working to do the things that we needed to do for you. What are some of the other things? I'm trying to think of some of the other things that people often ask. But yeah, those are a couple things. So it just feels like a little bit of a guided meditation. And the thing that I'm not always good with meditation, I'll be honest. But when you come to the appointment knowing, okay, this is the time you're going to walk me through something, you're going to guide me through something, it's often easier than going off trying to do it for yourself, where then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I have to take this time, I have to do, and you're a little bit antsy if you're like me. I could be doing something else. But when you make an appointment and you come and you're dedicated to that time, it's way different. You're like, oh, okay, this is the space for me. We're making change now. We're opening the door. We're going to do this. I need to do this. I want to do this. And so it's that commitment that of just showing up that makes a difference often.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's funny that you mentioned that because I did fall asleep in my very first hypnotherapy session. And I woke up and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so embarrassed. And it was the same thing. She's like, oh no, your subconscious is always on, so you don't need to worry about that. So, but yeah, it felt very relaxing. And I did feel quite rejuvenated afterwards. And I did notice the changes were happening. So that was a really good thing. But yeah, if anyone is doing meditations or they're doing guided meditations, I think it'll feel very much along those lines, just a very deeply relaxed state that is conducive to making big changes in life. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And if listeners are curious now, we've kind of talked about what we can do and how you do that. And if they want to connect with you, what kind of programs and services do you offer and what can you help with?
Well, I can help with a lot. I can help with a lot. I love working with especially business owners or, entrepreneurs and people that want to really push through and go to that next level, whether they feel like they've just hit this block or, some people use the glass ceiling thing that's there where it's like, I know I can get to that next spot, but I'm just not getting there. It's not happening. I love working with those people because it like whooshes through for them and they do get to that next level. And I also work with the people who are just so stuck in life that they're like, I can't do it anymore. I have chronic fatigue. I have IBS. I have so much anxiety. I can't do anything. And I love working with those people too. And I do have two kind of base programs that I work with. I have that very intentional clearing kind of trauma program that does clear all of those things, that moves it all away, that gets you back to being able to live your life in a way that you want to be living, where it's like, oh, I can breathe again, I can move again, I can do something again. And that's a wonderful program. And that's called my Highlands Hypnosis Trauma Program. Whether you think you have trauma or not, we all have it in some little tiny way. And so going in and clearing that, if you're struggling in that way, you likely have some version of trauma in your life somewhere. It might have been when you were 1 year old. It might have been when you were 2, but it's there. And then I have my personalized success program that I absolutely love because it is often for those entrepreneurs, for those people who are just ready. They're ready for that next level. They know that they've got things kind of in place. It's like, I'm doing the things, I know how to do the things, but it's not happening for me. It's just not happening. And so I know that there's something holding me back and they just can't quite term what that something is. I don't know if it's this. I don't know if it's that. But I work with those people and it really does kind of cascade and push them into that next level because it clears away the things that you can't quite articulate or see or change. And when you can't quite see or articulate or change it, it's probably because it's that subconscious thing going on. And I love that. I love that. That's a little bit longer program that moves forward. The first one is 6 to 7 weeks, and changes happen in those 6 to 7 weeks. And right now, the other one is about 6 months. You work with me for about 6 months. I'm kind of working on a middle one, that's a little bit in the 3 to 4 month range, somewhere like that. Because sometimes you're like, I need this to happen in 12 weeks, or I need this to happen. And I'm happy to push that forward, and I've done that with people in that program. Some people want the extended kind of connection for that period. I've also condensed it where they're like, nope, I need this to change now. Let's push it. And we do that. And that's why I'm kind of thinking about mushing it into that third version of the accelerated version of that personalized success program. But so that's what's there. You can have a look at my website, which is my name, Laura Ordile, and it's LauraOrdile. It looks like Ordile.com. I'm also on the socials under my name, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, under Laura Ordile. I have a podcast called The Change Gang Podcast. And I also have a group on Facebook called The Change Gang that you're absolutely welcome and invited to. So there's me.
Amazing. And of course, we will be linking to all of Laura's offerings in the show notes as well. So be sure to check there on the links to her programs, her courses, her podcast. And if you'd like to join the community, make sure that you get in touch with her and figure out how you can get set up in there. And I do hope that you all get to experience the healing power of hypnosis at some point, because it can be a very powerful experience, especially like Laura said, if you're feeling stuck or you're just not quite sure why things just aren't moving forward for you. So this would be a really nice thing to try out and see how you feel about it and what you experience. Well, this has been another incredible episode, and I really hope our listeners have enjoyed our journey into exploring the subconscious as much as I have. It's a topic I just love talking about. So thank you so much for being here today and sharing your wisdom with us, Laura. I really appreciate it.
So welcome. I love talking about it too, in case you couldn't tell.
It's one of those really cool things, right? To think we have this supercomputer. So yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah, I really appreciate your time, and thank you so very much for sharing, and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Journey podcast, please support us by subscribing, sharing on social media, and leaving us a review. We appreciate you. And you can find more of The Journey on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, thejourney.com. Sending you love and courage, and see you next time.